I don't know how you lose that game. I don't know. I'm still at a loss. Mitch, I'm on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't already. The goal is 1,000 subscribers by the end of the Packers season. We will get there. We are on the climb. Always appreciative of all the support. That's a shell shocking loss for a bevy of different reasons. One, hey, any way you can find to win a game in the NFL, you tip your cap. And Cleveland found a way to win on this Sunday afternoon. But if we're just speaking in harsh realities, like that's a bad Cleveland Browns team. It's a really good defense. And I had said that in a couple of videos in the lead up to this game this week. But the offense lacks true weapons. And I think they found one in Quinshon Judkins. This was his second game. Maybe you can get something out of Isaiah Bond. Jerry Jeudy's pretty good, but he's not a top tier or a second-tier wide receiver in the National Football League, and Joe Flacco's 40 years old playing quarterback, and Joe Flacco throughout his career has excelled as a deep ball thrower, and Cleveland just doesn't have the weapons to really orchestrate an offense kind of centralized around that. But Cleveland scored 13 points in the last 3:38 of this game to walk off Green Bay on a 55-yard field goal and win 13-10. I really, truly, I'm going to have to pull up some notes, but I don't know. I didn't take many notes during this game. We're going to bounce around like we always do. I don't know where to start. Like, that's how I'm shocked. Like, do we start with the Jordan Love interception and how every quarterback's going to throw interceptions, every single one. But Jordan Love has had a tendency, I think, of the Kirby Joseph pick six at the end of the first half last year. I think of the one today against Cleveland. There were others last year, too. It's just not coming to mind. There were a couple others. The interceptions that completely lack situational awareness are the ones that I cannot. They keep you up at night. If they're keeping fans up at night, they're keeping Jordan Love up at night, Matt LaFleur up at night, and the Green Bay Packers up at night. And that interception he had in the fourth quarter, maybe there was miscommunication with him and Tucker Kraft. Maybe he was trying to thread the needle. I'm sure he's going to be asked about it in his postgame presser. By the time this gets posted, Jordan Love will have already had his postgame press conference. But as soon as that clock hits 000, I get on record, then export the video and get it up on YouTube as quickly as I can. That interception by Jordan Love was one of those ones that we have seen in the past where it's just like, what's the thought process here? You're up 10-3 with a little more than 3 minutes to go, and you're up 10-3. And it's not, hey, you're up 41-34, and you're afraid to give the ball back to the offense because they've been shredding your defense. The only way Cleveland was winning this game is if you made catastrophic mistakes. I said that in the final reaction, or the final thoughts video. This is instant reaction. The mind's everywhere after that game. I said in the final thoughts video, the spread scared me. I think it closed at 7.5 because if you're a road team in the NFL, 7.5 is a massive spread in general. When you're a road team, it especially is. But I was under the impression, and I had said, as long as you don't make any egregious errors on offense, and there was one on special teams late too, and we'll get to that, you should beat the Cleveland Browns. You're up 10-3, a little more than 3 minutes to go. You're at your own 25 on a 3rd and 3. Worst case scenario there should be sack, incomplete pass, punt it away. Worst case scenario is punt it away. Best case scenario, you move the sticks. Bad pass, bad decision, bad read for a pick that Cleveland runs back to your 4-yard line shouldn't even be on the bingo card. Shouldn't even exist. Wasn't a tipped pass. I can live with the interceptions for any quarterback, Jordan Love included. I can live with the interceptions where, hey, early on in the game, 3rd and long, going to take a deep shot down the field. You know, we're in our own territory but not buried. I'm going to take a deep shot down the field. I can live with those interceptions. I can live with the interceptions where you're throwing it, it gets batted up into the air, it gets batted at the line, and it's picked. I can live with the bad ones, the more egregious ones once in a while. This one, you can't. You just can't. You're up 10-3. Cleveland's offense doesn't have a pulse. They don't even have a pulse. The doctor checked. He's like, we're pulling the plug. We're not going to rack up the electric bill on this one. Pull the plug. Cleveland's offense didn't have anything. Nothing. Quinshon Judkins had a couple of nice runs late. That offense had nothing all afternoon. Jordan Love throws that interception. They run it back to the 4-yard line. You're putting your defense way up against it. A defense that... The weird thing about today, and I don't want to sidebar too bad here because I do want to get back to the interception. I thought Green Bay's defense dominated against Detroit. I thought Green Bay's defense dominated against Washington. They were really, really good against the Browns, and maybe this is me just expecting way too much. I didn't feel like they ever dominated this game against the Browns. They made stops when they needed to. They were put up against it, that interception, and then the blocked field goal late with Cleveland starting damn near midfield and didn't need to do much and didn't do much, but got close enough for a 55-yard field goal attempt to walk it off. There weren't those game-wrecking plays. The interception came at the end of the first half on a Hail Mary loop down the near sideline by Joe Flacco. There were no huge turnovers created. Rashawn Gary had a couple of sacks. I don't know how many Green Bay finished with. It might have only been those two. But there weren't the game-wrecking plays. The Evan Williams interception against Jared Goff in week 1, that was a game-wrecking play. Detroit's trying to crawl back into it late in the first half. St. Brown slot right. Goff looks his way the whole time. Evan Williams reads it like a book, picks it off. That's a game-wrecking play. Jaden Daniels week 2, I think Green Bay had 11 quarterback hits, a few sacks. There were game-wrecking plays. Devontae Wyatt had a couple of them. Didn't sense there were any. You hold a team to 13 points in the NFL, you should win that 99 times out of 100. This is that one time. But the defense, as good as they were, and I am not blaming them, do not take this the wrong way. I just felt like they dominated the Lions, they dominated the Commanders. They were really good today, but didn't have any of those real game wrecker type plays, if that makes any sense. But back to the interception, you just can't have it. And that is my one hesitancy with Jordan Love. I love the guy, no pun intended. Makes great throws, has a good arm, loves to stretch it out and take some deep shots down the field. Those opportunities were limited. I have the Bears-Cowboys game going on. Cowboys running it early. Oh, but the Bears might have just recovered a fumble. There's so much good to go with Jordan Love's game, but the one major holdup I have is those type of interceptions. That one against Kirby Joseph late in the first half last year where you're like, what are we doing? What is the thought process there? The one today. You punt that ball back to Cleveland, the odds tell you they are not going to drive down the field against that Packers defense that had played that well today and score a touchdown. You give it to them first and goal at the 4, it's going to be a different story. It just is. And Green Bay's defense, I think the drive before that, it was a first and goal at the 1. 10-0. First and goal at the 1. 10-0. In Green Bay, assisted by a penalty on a chop block by Cleveland on second and goal, was able to hold the Browns to a field goal. Then you give them first and goal at the 4, the defense is like, we're right back out there. And quick work after a penalty on Evan Williams, first and goal at the 1, after it was first and goal at the 4, and Quinshon Judkins dances into the end zone. Then we can get to the next egregious error, the blocked field goal. I know Rich Bisaccia gets, put under the microscope by the fans, and there's been plenty of, special teams errors the last few years that would warrant doing so. I don't know. The easy finger to point at is coaching when you have some sort of missed assignment, or maybe it was just a tremendous play. I haven't gone back and watched the blocked kick. But at some point, the players just have to do their job. They just have to execute. And to allow a blocked field goal, you're not going to believe me when I say this either. I don't know if he'll watch this. He watches some of my videos. I texted my buddy Steve, and I usually don't text during games too much because I don't sit on my phone during games, but I do text him. And I texted my buddy Steve. I actually got to see what I said. And I don't know why. And I obviously wouldn't bring it up had the field goal gone in. Oh, he just texted me, worst loss of the decade. So there is some overreaction going on. I texted my buddy Steve, why do I have a bad feeling about this kick? And then he texted me right after the kick and said, oh my God. I don't know why. It's egregious. And two things with special teams that just really, really grind my gears. One's the block kick, 43-yard attempt. McManus has been damn near automatic for Green Bay. I don't care if it's left hash, right down the middle, rain, snow, whatever. 43-yarder, Brandon McManus. I don't care if there's a cyclone rolling through, a tornado. I'm trusting Brandon McManus. He doinked one off the uprights from, 50 yards against Washington, and it was, stunning that he missed a kick. That's how good Brandon didn't he miss one kick last year? And he missed it one in the postseason against Philly, but he has been so damn automatic and so damn good. After you shuffled through Anders Carlson and Braden Arvison and you were trying to find a kicker and boom, there's a veteran, Brandon McManus. You give him the extension in the offseason. He's been so good that you just block, just do your assignment correctly. He will take care of the rest. A 43-yarder for Brandon McManus, he could probably do that blindfolded. And instead and it wasn't McManus. It wasn't the snap hold operation. It wasn't a low line drive kick. Someone screamed off that edge, I think on the left side, blocked it. I don't know how the Browns didn't scoop and score it, but they didn't. And at the time, you're thinking, thankfully they didn't scoop and score it. But you know you're immediately pinning your defense in another bad situation because there's less than a minute left and the Browns have it damn near midfield. Granted, no timeouts, but they don't need many yards to try a field goal attempt, and they didn't get many yards. And then the second special teams error. I'm a moron for getting my hopes up. On the 55-yarder, just piped by the Cleveland kicker, who, by the way, I also mentioned in my Final Thoughts video. Week 1 against Cincinnati, the Browns lost 17-16. Same kicker missed an extra point and a chip shot 38-yard field goal late. Pipes a 55-yarder against Green Bay. Here's the part where I'm a moron. Browns are celebrating on the field. The flag icon's on the scoreboard, and I'm like, holding? Maybe somehow in a legal formation on a field goal? Because remember, the Browns special teams have been horrific the last couple of years and not good this year. And when I saw that flag icon on the scoreboard, my heart jumped a little bit. I got a little excited thinking it's going to be against Cleveland. No, it was offsides on Green Bay. Of course it was. Another special teams error. Can you imagine had he missed that 55-yarder in Green Bay's sideline celebrating, and all of a sudden, nope, laundry, boom, offsides, 5 yards. Now you get to try from 50. The special teams errors pile up. I cannot. 13 points. And what was it? 338? I will not be able to get that out of my mind. And I'm wrong about a lot of stuff. I think most of us knew Green Bay's offense had been humming. 27 points against Detroit, 27 points against Washington. I had said last week this was a Cleveland defense, that technically, was a Cleveland team that gave up 41 points to Baltimore. But when you really dug in and looked at the numbers, there was a defensive touchdown. That's 7 points. There was a 5-yard touchdown drive for Baltimore. That's 7 more points. There was a 24-yard touchdown drive by Baltimore. That's 7 more points. So they gave up 41 to the Ravens, yes. 21 came on layups. A defensive touchdown. That's not on your defense. A 5-yard touchdown drive. A 24-yard touchdown drive. This was a Cleveland defense that held the Cincinnati Bengals to 7 total yards of offense in week 1 in the second half of that game. Still lost 17-16 because of incompetence from the special teams and the offense's inability to really shove a dagger through the hearts of the Cincinnati Bengals. They found a way to win today, and you tip your cap. You tip your cap to the Browns. But this is an unfathomable loss. You're up 10-0, and Cleveland scores 13 in the final, 338. And you look at how they scored the last 10. Well, one was a one-play, 4-yard touchdown drive, technically a 1-yard drive. It'll go down as a 4-yard drive because the drive started at the 4, but there was a penalty on first down. And then you replayed first down. And then blocked field goal. Cleveland goes 5 plays, 16 yards to get into field goal range and walk it off. If you're blaming Green Bay's defense for anything today, I don't think anyone will be. You're looking at the wrong sources. I'm looking at QB1. I'm looking at some of the special team stuff. And again, when I say special team stuff, blame the players, blame the coaches, do whatever you want to do. It was bad. I still cannot get over that interception. It was unserious football today. It was unserious football from the Packers. And how many freaking false starts. I don't want to hear a single excuse about Zach Tom played one play and then got hurt again. Aaron Banks got hurt. Rasheed Walker had his helmet was all messed up. They had to get the face mask on there. The one part had gotten bunched down. And he missed a few snaps. Don't want to hear about, the offensive line because Cleveland's defensive front was legit. Jordan Love was pressured early. He was pressured often in the first half. The Browns had 8 quarterback pressures and 3 sacks. There was a 3rd and 1. Was at the end of the third quarter. I just got to find the drive chart. There was a 3rd and 1, and I'm thinking, Green Bay is going to take it to the fourth quarter. They could let the clock expire. Instead, they hike it with 1 second left on a 3rd and 1. Love could have he scrambled outside to the far sideline, and he could have just dumped. He was well outside the pocket. Could have thrown it away. Instead, pumped, hesitated, froze, and took a sack. All of a sudden, it's 4th and forever, and you're punting to start it had to be at the end of the third because you punted to start the fourth quarter. 3rd and 1 at your own 44, and you take an 11-yard sack when you could have just let the clock expire. Now, if you had something drawn up there, you thought you had Cleveland's defense on their toes, it's a different story. But that, again, typically you're just take it to the fourth. Let's huddle up, commercial break, get our best play out there on a 3rd and 1, move the sticks, keep it going. And at that point, you're up 10-0. And instead, you hike it, 1 second left. There seemed to be Green Bay was in disarray, and you take a sack and you punt. There's just so many errors and then penalties. I don't know how many false starts this offensive line, this team has to have, because Malik Heath had one too. I don't know how many false starts there have to be before it's just hammered into their head to just not jump. Jordan Morgan had at least 2. Rasheed Walker had one. Rasheed Walker had an eligible man downfield penalty. Malik Heath had a false start. But these main ones are these pre-snap penalties, and they're downright egregious. You just can't have them. When you back up constantly 5 yards after one false start after another on, a varying amount of drives against a defense like that, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass at some point in time. Doesn't mean you're going to lose the game, especially in the manner that Green Bay did, but against a good defense, and Cleveland has a really good defense, you can ill afford to constantly be moving in the wrong direction via pre-snap penalties or penalties of any kind. And Green Bay finished the game, oh my God, 14 penalties. 14. It's on serious football. It is not serious football. You hold a team to 13 points. Granted, they scored them again all in the last 13:38. You hold a team to 221 total yards. They had 8 penalties for 90 yards. You should win that game. That's why this one's unfathomable. I said my one buddy texted me, worst loss of the decade. I think that's a bit extreme. I could think of a couple playoff losses that stung a lot more than a Week 3 loss to Cleveland. This might be the most shocking. It was just stunning. Green Bay kept tripping over their own feet. They kept making dumb mistakes, but you're okay, it's 10-0. Okay, it's 10-3. They're going to hang on. They're going to hang on. They're going to hang on. And then Cleveland didn't take this game over and take it by the reins. These were two teams that were both here, you have it. No, you have it. No, you have it. And you would think by the laws of logic, Green Bay being the better team on paper would squeak it out, find a way to win. But the interception, the blocked field goal, ruined them on top of all these penalties. Green Bay, Josh Jacobs had that fumble that thankfully he somehow recovered on the final drive when Green Bay was just running out the clock to kick a field goal late. That would have been a disaster. We won't even remember that fumble, A, because Jacobs, they said he recovered it, even though it looked pretty close down the pile, and B, because it wasn't a turnover, and then you had a field goal blocked, and there was an interception by your quarterback before that was a disaster that led to a tie game at the time at 10-10. I'm not going to sit here and say, as I read articles and watch other videos from reaction to this game, I would guarantee you that at least a couple people will have the take of this loss will end up being a good thing for Green Bay. You get one like this out of the way, it opens up your eyes. You have a loss like this to a team like Cleveland Week 3. You're up 10-0 with less than 4 minutes to go. This one will open up their eyes, and they'll be ready to go in these late game scenarios. I'm not going to sit here and do that. You can't lose that game, given how it played out. You can't. The only way you lose that game is if you just force it to you take it. We're done. And that's what Green Bay did with that interception. That's what they did with the blocked field goal at the end. That's what they did watching the Cleveland's kicker pipe one from 55 yards where Green Bay lined up offsides. Had he missed it, he would have had another chance from 50. Not putting this all on Jordan Love, though. Certainly not. And not going to put it all on the special teams. I thought the offensive line and pass protection was horrendous. When you can allow a team, any team, let alone this defensive front, hit home so consistently like they did, just rushing forward. Do you know how easy it makes life for defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, who's already Jim Schwartz is a sneaky good defensive coordinator. You know, we remember his days as a head coach in Detroit, and it was miserable and it didn't work out. He's a sneaky good defensive coordinator. You know, he's been around the block quite a few times. He knows the ins and outs. And he had to have a somewhat easy job today because his defensive line kept disrupting things by just rushing 4. When you can get consistent pressure rushing 4, it makes life easier for your entire defense and your defensive play caller. In this case, Jim Schwartz. I mentioned the Browns had 8 quarterback pressures, 3 sacks in the first half alone, 5 sacks for the game. Many of those were just rushing 4. They made it look really easy. And some of that pressure was manufactured up the middle. I'll have to go back and watch some of the All-22, and I'm not going to act like I'm an expert after I watch it. I never do. But it was pretty obvious when they were showing some of the replays, like Elton Jenkins, not a great day at the office. Jordan Morgan, not a great day at the office. Some of that pressure came from the exterior, but a lot of it just came right on the interior, especially in the first half, I will note. Looked like just, I don't know if there's missed assignments going on up front, but the pass pro was pretty bad the entire game, but especially in those first 30 minutes. Just really, really bad. But again, you're in this rock fight. You have that defense in Green Bay. It's don't make any outrageously dumb mistakes and we win this game. And they made one too many. They made a couple. And Cleveland walks away with the win. And now you're 2-1, and you try to – I don't know if this is I don't know what LaFleur's blueprint. I don't know what his mindset is on. Is this a burn the tape game, or no, we're going to watch this tape and torture ourselves with it? But at some point you turn the page and you get ready for Dallas next Sunday night, who, while I'm currently recording this, they're trailing the Bears 7-0 about midway through the first quarter. Can't believe they lost it. Love that they got Matthew Golden involved early with some quick hits. They tried that jet sweep stuff, which he was fortunate to get a few yards on each because they almost got blown up. The second one in the fourth quarter, they went back-to-back jet sweep plays to Matthew Golden. The second one should have got blown up for a loss, but Golden's too quick, and he got around the edge. But yeah, he had 3 rushes for 9 yards, team-high 52 receiving yards on 4 receptions, just had the 4 targets. Josh Jacobs had 9 targets. There was one play call that I absolutely loved in the first half. It was a 3rd down for Green Bay. And they put Savion Williams in the backfield with Jordan Love. And so immediately, if you're Cleveland's defense, you're circling Savion Williams because he had a couple of wildcat carries in this game. But you're circling Savion Williams because you're like, okay, they like using him. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife. And they had Josh Jacobs lined up to the far right at the top of the screen. And typically you're like running back lined up out wide. Probably not going to them on a 3rd down, 3rd and medium, I think it was. And it was just a quick out route by Josh Jacobs and a great catch. And Jordan Love put it where he needed to. Josh Jacobs makes the catch, moves the sticks. I love that sort of deception where Savion Williams is in the backfield, one side of the field. It's like Dobbs, Golden, and they're like, okay, we got to worry about these guys. What the hell is Savion Williams going to do coming out of the backfield? Might they hand it to him on this 3rd and medium? No, it's to our running back who's lined up on the outside, kind of just on an island hanging out, quick out route. So I love that play call, and it worked to perfection. Outside of that, again, the defense was good. The defense, what are you going to do when it's, 1st and goal at the 4 after an interception? What are you going to do when a field goal is blocked late with, a half minute to go and it's a tie game and all of a sudden Cleveland's pretty much at midfield? Granted, again, they had no timeouts, but you're just so up against it at that point. If you're the Packers defense, thought they were really good. Couldn't, you can't always rely on your defense to be the side and the unit that delivers a knockout punch, but they've been so good that you almost expected it because they had those big plays, those havoc-wrecking plays, I called it, against Detroit and Washington. Really good against Cleveland. I was wrong about this. I said in the Final Thoughts video, it was either 17 or 20. I said, you score 17 or 20, should be good to go against Cleveland. Well, Cleveland won this one 13-10, and I thought, 17 or 20 would have beat Cleveland. But in my video, I said I thought Green Bay would get to at least 20, and they got half of that at 10. I said you get to 17 or 20, should be good enough to beat the Browns based off how they looked, how this offense is, and how Green Bay's defense is. And then I followed it up by saying, yeah, Green Bay can get at least 20 in this game. 27 against Detroit, 27 against Washington. No. They offense laid an egg. Still tough to come by rushing yards. for Josh Jacobs. He had 16 carries for 30 yards in this game. It's just been tough. And it's not a pointing the finger at Josh Jacobs saying the offensive line has to pave some holes, and Jacobs will, fall in line. Receiving-wise, he had 5 receptions for 44 yards. He had that beautiful 31-yard reception that extended a drive, which ended on John Fitzpatrick having his first NFL touchdown, the only touchdown of the game for the Packers. But this one, I'm not going to, dress this one up as anything else besides wildly disappointing, pretty stunning. And even when, I stop recording this video, my only thought is still going to be how did they lose this game? I get it, but I can't wrap my mind completely around it just because the errors were so bad and so egregious by the Packers. Here, this is why you can't look ahead. This is why, I fall guilty of it, but I think we can fall guilty of it. We're not a player. We're not on the coaching staff, anything like that. I was peeking ahead thinking, man, 4-0 in the bye week is very possible. And then you come out of that and you face Jake Browning and the Bengals, who just got the doors blown off them today by the Vikings, who had 2 defensive touchdowns, and Carson Wentz played all right in for the injured J.J. McCarthy. But here I am thinking 4-0 is well within reach. Look at how the Browns have looked the first 2 weeks on offense. Cowboys giving up a ton of points, a ton of yards, and you lose in that fashion to Cleveland. I'm not going to keep circling back to the same points because I've already done it a couple times. Just that's a tough one. Like, you tell me, and Judkins finished with 94 yards and a touchdown. I'm just looking at some numbers. But you tell me Jerry Jeudy, their best weapon on offense in the passing game, Jerry Jeudy had 1 catch for 17 yards. Outside of Quinshon Judkins, only one other person had a carry. It was Dylan Sampson. He had 1 carry for 2 yards. Flacco threw for 142 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. You lost that game. That's the insane part to me. You lost that game. Special teams still has stuff to clean up. I don't know how you coach the decision-making stuff out of Jordan Love's mind. Again, every quarterback's going to throw interceptions. You live with it. It's the ones that situationally you can't have, that make zero sense, that bite you in the ass, like the one today that Delpit had. So it's not doom and gloom. This is still a very good team, but yeah, this loss sucks. Like, this is a terrible, terrible loss for the Packers. So we'll see. I'm still being a little greedy probably saying this. I said it at the end of last week. I need more Matthew Golden. When he gets the ball in his hands in the passing game, he's electric. 4 targets to me isn't going to cut it. It's just not. And I know you have to spread the wealth and there's a lot of options, but this is a passing game without Jaden Reed and without Christian Watson. I know you still have Tucker Kraft, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks. You probably want to get Savion Williams involved. Malik Heath was out there. It seemed like Malik Heath was out there quite a bit. Interested to look at the snap count totals. I don't think you can get the ball in the hands of Matthew Golden enough if you're Green Bay. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction after, 0 catches, 0 yards against Washington week 2 when he had 2 plays that should have gone for touchdowns, an underthrow and an overthrow, 4 receptions for 52 yards, but I'd like to see that target number bumped up for him. I do think he's the real deal. Let me know what you guys and gals think. Packers lose 13-10 to the Cleveland Browns on a walk-off 55-yard field goal in devastating fashion. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys will have more videos throughout the week. Please click the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds. Hat tip to Cleveland. They did enough to win. Their defense is pretty damn good, pretty damn impressive. We'll see you next time.